We are back with another edition of Smart Driving Cars. Thank you for spending time with us once again. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, co-author of the new book, The Real Case for Driverless Mobility, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good afternoon, Fred.
Good afternoon. We hope everyone's summer is off to a great start. And on top in the latest Smart Driving Cars is welcome to the summer of 2024. You do some reminiscing here, and you're just back from a great start to your summer as well. But beyond reminiscing, this is really the launch of a brand new startup.
Right, and it harkens me back to 45 years ago when on July 1st, 1979, Catherine, my first wife, and I launched our startup, what became ALK Technologies, and that she ran for successfully for 33 and a half years. And so now Elizabeth and I are starting a new venture to actually carry out what Michael Senna and I wrote in our latest book, to really provide rides for people who really need rides. And we're calling this, at least for now, handy rides. I can recall back 45 years ago, we could not come up with a correct, or not correct, a name for the venture we started. Eventually, we just decided to call it ALK for lack of coming up with a better name. But this time, I think I've always liked the term handy rides, and I've used it in classes for many years, but now maybe we'll just make it a reality.
Interesting. So give our audience a little bit more about the concept here. What is this new entity going to do?
Well, I think as Michael and I sort of laid out in our book, there are the process of transportation for people getting a ride to go from A to B at time T is really broken down into two major groups. Those that can give themselves a ride or get there themselves. Sometimes it's with walking, sometimes it's with bicycling, giving themselves a ride with a bicycle. Might even be with a scooter. Or what typically happens most of the time in the U.S. is that people give themselves a ride with a car, with their own car, and make the decision of from where to go at when they want to go, with a great deal of flexibility, simply because that's what a car or a bicycle, or if it's close enough, walking really affords. So they do it themselves. At times we've called this the sort of the Home Depot way of providing mobility. Do it yourself. But then there are also a bunch of folks who because of the trip, the A to B, and maybe the time T at which they want to go, they don't have their own wherewithal to do that. Maybe too far to walk, too far to bike. They don't have a bike. They don't have a car. They aren't licensed to drive a car. Might be too young, too old, too something. Or may not have a car available to them for whatever reason. Someone else in the family is using the car. Or they aren't rich enough to own a car, or a car's not really a way to go, that being given a ride is the better way to go. There's a really good New York City subway system available to give a ride to those who care to go from subway stop to a subway stop. And there in New York actually operates 24/7. So time can do it most of the time. Unfortunately, those types of systems don't exist everywhere in the US of A. And basically, as we've looked at it and developed it in the book, there's probably of the people that go from A to B at time T, half of them right now give themselves a ride or walk. And it depends. I mean, if you include really short walk trips, there are way too many of them. They walking from here to next door isn't really part of a trip, I guess. We sort of do that naturally, but if and the other half, people need a ride. Somebody has to give them a ride, a transit system, a neighbor, a family member. And then as one looks at this, certainly there's the concept in economics of latent demand. One really travels to a destination because one expects that the benefit, the utility of getting to that place is large. It's bigger than actually getting to any other place. It's actually, if you go, ends up being better than staying home. Otherwise, why'd you go? So on the individual's point of view, going someplace is all about improving one's quality of life from going elsewhere or staying at home when it comes right down to it. But it's only the net improvement of quality of life. I mean, one of the troubling aspects of transportation and mobility is that it ends up costing something to go from A to B at time T. So it's not just the value that the individual is going to get about showing up at B at time T plus time it takes to travel. But that has to be discounted by the disutility associated with getting there. And as some people may see, the disutility, the hassle, the price, the cost, whatever we want to count it, of getting someplace really kind of ruins it. And people stay home or go somewhere else. And of course, the real beauty of new forms of mobility is that, my goodness, it might be able to do something about the cost of getting from A to B at time T. Reduce it, reduce the time, reduce the expense, reduce the discomfort, make it more enjoyable. All of a sudden, folks that stayed home or went something else, all of a sudden go there. Ooh. Just, kind of the real thing about the individual choice process that goes into transportation. And of course, the dream of all of us that deal with new technology in transportation was we're going to develop a system that substantially reduces the disutility associated in getting there, getting from A to B at time T. It makes it so attractive that people all of a sudden go to B at time T from A, don't stay home, really improve their lives. And that's, of course, been the holy grail of technology improvements in transportation. The reason why the car became so successful as compared to the horse and buggy. Oh my goodness. I mean, think of it. That's a disruptive technology. And of course, the holy grail of automating the driving function is that, my goodness, it can do it. It can do it better at more times, and maybe a heck of a lot cheaper, especially if you used to have to pay for the driver. That's disruptive. that could affect many people's lives. And of course, what is obviously motivated in the book is that focusing this new mobility on those for which it really is disruptive. It allows them to now be able to enjoy, participate, get the benefit of going to a lot of places that before they didn't have the opportunity to because of expense, wasn't available, too much of a hassle, all those things. So that's really what we're looking to do is to find that. And sort of another little nasty secret in all this is that when people make a decision to go from A to B at time T, they don't only worry about the disutility of going from here to here at that time. What was really in the back of their heads is part of the decision process that makes it, that ends up being behavioral decisions by the individual, is getting back home. I mean, Hansel and Gretel knew that problem. They put breadcrumbs out there so they could get back home. They weren't really concerned about getting to grandma's house. They were concerned about getting back home. Now, maybe, putting breadcrumbs out there isn't necessarily the brightest way that you should ensure, you'd be able to find your way back home. But, in the whole decision process of should I do, should I go, should I enjoy, should I really take advantage of this opportunity, is not only the opportunity once you get there, but also the safety net that's associated with getting you back home. And if you sort of look at the value of the personal automobile to an individual, sure, it gets you there when you want to go. Great, beautiful, wonderful. Guess what it also does? It also sits there like a little puppy dog. I'm parked over here anytime you want to go. No wonder that's so disruptive. And, when it's part, you do have to pay for parking. But just think if you had to have a horse sit there and wait for a long period of time. Who's tending to the horse? Who's making sure the horse is fed? I mean, I guess they had that sort of figured out. But my goodness, the car sitting there just sitting there waiting. Wow, no wonder people buy these things. No wonder people go in the hawk for 7 years now to make payments on something that they can afford so that they can have that. Now, what if you had a system that not only took you there, but it was no hassle for it to bring you back home? And while you're doing whatever you're doing over here, it didn't just have to sit around and wait for you. It could go out and do. And for somehow, if it was tied into doing something else, there'd be another vehicle come take you home just as easily. Wow. Then maybe people would say, whoa, whew. And I didn't have to pay for parking. I mean, and I didn't have to pay for a chauffeur. And why is the chauffeur so expensive? That chauffeur has to sit there and wait. Yeah, while you're having dinner, they could go out somewhere else. Maybe. But guess what? I mean, most transportation, if the operator can somehow, make use of something while it's waiting for your return haul and not have an empty back haul or an empty front haul, they usually put that in their own pocket rather than necessarily giving you all that great advantage. But now with a whole fleet of these things, maybe. So in a sense, that's what the real opportunity is And what the real economic opportunity is to be able to provide this mobility at a cost of goods sold that is really attractive. And if you can do it with an entity that's figured out how to properly account for the development cost of the technology that allows one to do this, maybe then, in fact, such automation is available pretty affordably for the operator. Changes the world, we think.
And
And I guess I
you're
should
looking at many
announce that
markets, really.
I should also announce that while I was in Sweden with my co-author Michael Senna, I guess we have an agreement to now do a follow-up book, which is really going to be focused on actually doing it as we're doing it, and we're going to do it, at least try it.
Terrific. And you're looking at a number of markets, starting locally where you are, probably, right? Mercer County, but you're also looking at places like Brownsville in Texas. And we talked about that at length with our last podcast and showed some diagrams. And you have an updated one that you're linking to in the current.
Yeah, and the updated one, I think what I failed to put in the previous one was really some taking some movies of the process of doing it, just to show the interactive nature in which one learns as to if one has the opportunity. One of the real values of automation is the flexibility one has in operations. And that flexibility provides an opportunity, again, not just to do the front haul trip, but the back haul trip, and to do some things in between, and to be able to use the entities in a system and a network such that they all support each other. And in the end, delivering efficient mobility to a broader group. And that's the beauty. And I think I've put in some videos that sort of better show this. But the way to really do this for a community is to just get engaged with it and to basically simulate a number of different environments to come up with a good one to start with. But it's only a start. There's a learning process that one finds, hey, these were good places to serve, not so good places to serve. Maybe we should have done more over here, done more over there. But the flexibility to be able to do that is, I think, one of the real opportunities of the technology. And so we're going to test this out as a proof of market. And our intention is to do it first right here in our neighborhood, where we have personal connections with many who understand the mobility challenges, especially of those who need a ride, as opposed to those who can readily give themselves a ride. And we have to start someplace. One has to have a beginning. And our intention is to begin with those that could have the high, we could deliver the biggest benefit at the lowest risk. What else would one do? If one wants to be successful, I believe very much in let's start where it's easy. And let's not burden ourselves with where it's hard. Where it's hard, maybe we have no opportunity to improve things. We think that where it's easy, there are many opportunities, certainly many more than we can serve in the beginning. And let's start with success and build on success rather than have some, grandiose who knows what visions of someplace. I've always claimed that for this to be successful, you have to be successful at every step of the way in the evolution curve. And it is an evolution. You've got to be successful at the start. You can't hope for the finish to pay back on the start. Maybe a little bit. And then you have to be successful on all the way, every point along that trajectory to reach scale. Otherwise, I mean, you're going to go into debt with whom? Who's going to hold you up for what? No, thank you.
Exciting. And we'll be keeping our audience up to date really every step of the way.
Right. Our intention in doing this is to be totally upfront, stream everything. My goodness, we learned from General Motors crews. They withheld information and they were fined $7,500 a day for withholding information. That's not going to happen to us. Here, here it is. We don't have anything to hide. Because if you hide things in this, that's going to catch up to you someday.
And also from the start, and everything you've done leading up to this point, even is the community outreach and people in the communities being involved from the get-go.
Well, we are trying to provide mobility for people who really need it. So therefore, we have to find them, and we have to find what their needs are, and we have to deliver on that. It's not what we think. It's for them. It really is. It's for the customer. I mean, any business, really. It's kind of a shame when one sees a business that all of a sudden is for what? Well, I guess, it is in some sense for Wall Street or something, but cut it out. Look at what happened to General Electric. Oh, I guess they deserved it.
Well, next up in the newsletter, Alan, you had that GM Cruise story, which is being ordered to pay $112,500 to California. In this case, it's not so much, I guess, the money, but for delaying the crash report. You had some comments.
Well, I just hope that California uses this money to catch the person who created the problem in the first place. This all started with a hit and run driver. And it's amazing. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I did. Elizabeth and I did have a great trip to Europe and visiting Henry Posner's trains, competing with the Deutsche Bahn for rail services, passenger services in Germany and on to Sweden. But this is where this started. And apparently this person hasn't been apprehended. Really? I mean, people just hit and run in San Francisco and get off scot-free? I don't know.
Right.
I hope the Public Utilities Commission is somewhat appalled by that situation.
Meanwhile, Alan, Cruise has a new CEO.
Yep.
Mark Whitten, a former Amazon executive, founding engineer at Xbox at Microsoft, is the next CEO.
Yeah, so I think that's good. It looks like they're trying to get themselves back into play. They are one of there's only one other entity who's done this in the world, as far as I know, done it without smoke and mirrors, is Waymo and Cruise. Maybe there are others. I don't know why. I keep thinking all the others have smoke and mirrors, but I think all the others have smoke and mirrors. Or what I call smoke and mirrors.
In Croatia, Alan, The Verge reports, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Rimac or Rimac, shifting from electric supercars, think Bugatti, to robotaxis. And an interesting move on their part, I suppose.
I guess. Great. Good luck. Okay. I guess I don't know what a robo-taxi is. I don't know. Are there any two-passenger taxis anywhere in the world? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe in some niche market someplace. I don't know. Even the black cabs in London seat more than two. But apparently this is now a max two-seater. Phew. Good luck.
Alan, another headline in the newsletter, the auto industry pleading with the Biden administration to reconsider the automatic braking rule. And it's an alliance that the automakers form that's doing this. I'll get the name here. It's the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, representing most of the major automakers. And I could just envision what you looked like when you heard this story or read this story.
I mean, can I roll my eyes enough? I mean, this is an alliance for automotive innovation. Is that what the lobbying group is? And they're lobbying against innovation. And innovation, and I think the automakers voluntarily put forward in 2016 or 15, saying, oh, by 2022, we're going to have automated emergency braking systems that work. Trust us, we'll do it ourselves. You don't need to regulate this. And this is now how many years later?
NHTSA told us that it's working already in late model Toyota Corollas.
Right. I mean, I guess
So,
who are these? Should we call these folks Neanderthal automakers? Supported by what innovative? What Alain? Who are these folks? What? I can't roll my eyes enough. I mean, cut it out. It's a joke.
from the
Maybe
Verge,
it's fake news. It must be fake news. We have to stop doing this, Fred. I mean, this
must be, right?
is like silly.
Well, if only it were fake news.
I mean, they can't get automated emergency braking systems to work. Come on, auto industry. Did you really fund these folks? It's a joke.
From The Verge, Uber and Aurora have announced a long-term driverless truck deal after their successful pilot.
I guess. I just, I guess, I guess this is good public relations. I don't know. I didn't realize Uber had access to folks who want to move goods in truckload quantities, even in Texas. I mean, not a new business for Uber. Uber Eats isn't enough. I don't know what Aurora needs Uber for, but okay, never mind.
I guess it's a customer.
I guess it's a customer. Uber really going to pay? I don't know. Great.
That was another eye roll I just saw. So
No, I don't do eye rolls. Everybody's doing eye rolls on me. I mean, they all think I'm goofy.
And I think it's pronounced Waabi, Waabi.
Yeah.
An NVIDIA-backed self-driving truck startup says its AI-powered vehicles will hit the roads next year. They're using simulation to test scenarios rather than data collection. This is a company that's based in Toronto.
Yeah, and you know, they had nice presentations during the recent NVIDIA developers conference, and yes, they've been actually they were originally part of Uber's driverless car effort, and until you know Uber uh, had that was involved with Alain and having her passing, and and yes, they are. I think they're a real contender in this space.
Interesting. They have a woman CEO as well.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's great. She's been working on this for some time, and yes, they built a wonderful simulation environment to do this, and basically are building a driverless stack end to end.
Well, we're going to wrap things up and remind people that if they're looking for some summer reading, the book is still out there, The Real Case for Driverless Mobility.
Yes, and Michael and I are starting to write the follow on, and in
Cool.
fact, you know, um, not only write the follow on, but actually do the follow on, which is, I think, important. It is. While there are some good things that are happening out there, it just seems that that there's some real low hanging fruit opportunities in which enormous societal value can be delivered if one just begins there, and that's what we intend to do.
Well, if you want to go to the links on the newsletter, you can find it at smartdrivingcar.com. That's where you can find us too. And you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Amazon, wherever you turn to. You can find my tech reports at textination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching. Please continue to stay safe.
And welcome to the summer of 2024. We're going to make enormous progress this summer and have a great one. We here in New Jersey, we have a beautiful July 1st here. Couldn't be nicer. And enjoy.